Is that what we talk about? Video games.
Video games. Video games. Good podcast, guys. See you later. Great job.
It's like we haven't even been missing these past 6 weeks.
Wait, no, we did one last week.
Did you do one last week?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, and it was just a very long time ago. It's what it feels like because time has flown. Yeah.
Are you guys messing with? I can't tell if you guys are messing with me anymore.
Wait. We mess with people? What?
I mean, not much.
No.
Welcome to the D22 Zone podcast.
Video games. That's what we'll be discussing at length.
It's been a while since we've done one of these things. I'm not saying it's Ollie's fault. I'm not gonna put the words out there.
What have we all been playing? I feel like
Well.
jumped in far too quickly.
Kind of makes you wonder.
You're blaming me for something that's not true.
I
If you're blaming me for video games, then okay. Yeah, I'll blame you for that.
Well, apparently this week we're blaming Jason for encouraging piracy of everything.
Yes.
Of all time.
Do we need to address this? The level of, I don't know, hate?
We really kind of do.
You poked a hornet's nest there, for sure.
Brit hated. Come on.
It's one of those. Okay, so I was in Nottingham over the weekend, chilling with some friends, and then I came home to have a quick look at the website, and I thought, oh, there's a post there with a whole lot of comments. Had a quick look at the post, only to see that it's people roundly insulting Jason's intelligence, which I'm okay with. I mean, I do it on a daily basis.
Yeah, but that's
Well,
for us. That's for us to do.
that is for us.
Okay, so for the record, Jason, would you like to put your position across? You know, your final considered opinion on this.
Well, let's just go over what he's actually talking about. I think it was last Thursday or Friday, Jason wrote this article about how Dark Souls for PC, it just keeps getting worse and worse. First it was, Games for Windows Live, and now it's going to be like a straight console port. It's going to have a ton of problems, ostensibly. And somehow from that, everybody sort of understood that Jason was inferring that people would prefer to pirate it rather than pay for it, and that just exploded somehow.
Well,
So
I think that I read the article and I took issue with the particular word I think people had a problem with is that he described the process as lazy.
Yes. Now
And I
let
think-
me back myself up. On
Okay.
this. Firstly, I'd trade that because I think I was a little too strong in that. Okay, I admit, I may have been a little because that's probably quite a large offence, which I didn't really know. Like, if I called someone lazy, I wouldn't think that as being much of an offence, but according to the PC gaming industry, and especially towards
Well,
the
it's
developer,
because I think these guys probably are working tooth and nail on Dark Souls.
yeah,
Like, whether or not the quality is as people would hope is what the issue is. I think guys who are working kind of, I don't know how many hours they're working like during the week to get this product out, they might not be doing a good job or they might not be meeting the standards that we're hoping, but lazy is probably unfair.
yeah, I agree. I was wrong in that sense to put that. And hey, not many people would admit this kind of stuff. So,
so that makes you better than everyone.
I've changed slightly. I don't think they're making the right decisions. That's what I'm really trying to say about this.
I think it's because everyone is kind of on their side in this. Like, everyone wants Dark Souls on PC to be the best
So do I.
possible product.
Yeah, I'm not wanting this to be a complete, screw up. I'm wanting this to be great because, like I've said, I'm a kind of centralized guy. I like all my games to be on one system, all in one Steam. I like that. I don't want it to be an absolute monumental screw up, but so many people just took the wrong end of this, and Oh man, I got pretty slaughtered for it. Put it that way.
Yeah.
Well, what got me was that, I mean, you made the, I thought, and I didn't even get it. I had to have you explain it to me, where there was like the piracy thing that I thought people were just taken way out of proportion. Where you had that little joke file name or whatever, Dragon Souls Reloaded. Um,
Yeah.
and it's funny because we all know that's what's going to happen. That people are going to pirate it because they have some sort of moral thing against paying for bad games, or they just that they convince themselves that that's what's motivating them or whatever. But the reality is that there's nothing stopping people from, when Dark Souls comes out, there will be a pirated version. There's nothing stopping people from buying a legit version that's going to have all the DRM problems and then pirating the one that works. You know?
The thing I find amazing is nowhere in the article have I said you should pirate this game.
I know.
I've been said that I condone piracy. I'm like, what? All I said was I could imagine this type of piracy to be on most gamers' mind.
Well, the thing is, even if it was a pitch perfect game, there were no issues, people would still pirate it.
Day one.
Yeah, day one, there would be a file name, that joke file name would be on any number of torrent sites on day one, and people would download it, guaranteed.
And people would make that argument like, oh, I don't want to, if I don't like it, then, I want to know firsthand. But
not playing it,
yeah,
gonna,
yeah.
rip it
If
off
only
for
there
free
was a demo,
because...
I wouldn't have pirated this game.
yeah, right. That's like when you see the humble indie bundles being pirated, like
Oh.
you just invalidated your entire. You can literally pay a penny.
Yeah.
So, like, overall, I openly admit I apologise for putting lazy, just because I didn't know how offensive it really meant in terms of developers. But the general point I'm trying to get across is if a game isn't running, even if it's a demo or an E3 or whatever, if it's not running well on a top-end card, that is going to raise questions, undoubtedly.
Mhm.
That is what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
How far does anyone know when Dark Souls is going to be?
I think it's
August.
Never now.
August. Yeah, after that article.
Yeah.
Blimey,
Shit.
I bet they read
Sorry,
that
guys.
and just canned it.
Jason.
So we're in June now. June, July, August. So 2 months. How
I
much
think
can
it's
they
the end
do?
of August, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, we'll go for end of August. So how much can they do in 2 months to make this
Well,
game?
as far as I'm aware about the process of development, is things like performance is one of the last issues that you would address.
Right. Okay.
So you get all your content, things like that in place, and then you iron out, or you do your best to iron out kind of technical issues.
Yeah.
I guess
that makes sense.
I guess that's what feels a little disappointing to me about this this port is that whilst it's great to see Dark Souls coming across to PC, they've got this thing where they've added extra content to the game for the PC version. I mean, that's great, but I kind of prefer it if they took that development time and worked it into, making the port really slick, really high performance, and, worked on the control system a little so that it's going to fit on the platform that they're porting it to.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the major
like a missed
issues
opportunity,
is
I
that,
guess. That's
yeah,
the thing.
exactly. I think that's why there's such an uproar from quarters about how poor or relatively poor this seems to be. But I think everyone has to bear in mind that in Japan, like the PC is less of a gaming platform, a much less popular gaming platform. And I remember, a lot of these companies who haven't done this kind of work before grossly underestimate what people expect. Like you had the last year, the Oddbox came to Steam, and Oddworld Stranger's Wrath had never been on PC before, and it was Xbox exclusive, so there were a lot of people that hadn't played it, and it suffered from shocking issues like PC. And I remember there was a conversation with a developer on a popular gaming forum who was completely oblivious to the kind of issues that people were facing, and he was so ignorant about what people expected and demanded from a PC game. It's like when we see a PC game now that doesn't have a resolution setting, like, what is that?
What's going
It
on?
just doesn't make sense.
Yes, that's the thing. It's always a pleasure to fire up a game and see the FOV slider and anti-aliasing drop-down box and adjust the quality of the shadows and turn off the HDR and that sort of thing. But
That's it.
It is rare, even amongst like Western developers, I think, to add those kind of options in. I mean, you can ask too much. It's nice to have those things, but I don't think that stuff's critical. The control system's a bit more key, I think, really, because not everyone at home on a PC is going to have a gamepad, but
and you shouldn't if you're making it for that platform. I think what I'm sort of taking issue with is that as a business, if you don't have experience in something, that like somebody else does, and it's your job to find them and hire them.
Definitely.
Yeah. And then go back to doing what you are good at, like producing content or whatever.
That's it, yeah. And I've stated this in one of the comments after speaking with you, Abby, and still people aren't accepting that. There was one chap who picked up on my lazy quote, which, yeah, again, okay.
But listen, I have said some unspeakable things on that website about video games. So.
Well, I then go on to say, if Namco Bandai, if they sort of are inexperienced in creating games for the PC market, which they are, they obviously clearly shown that, why don't they get people that have already been there and done that, or hire consultants or whatever's out there to help them do all this? Because even if they don't, they could still listen to the thousands of people that are telling them what to do. Do you remember when they said that they're going to run the game to Windows Live? I think there was another petition set up to take that off.
I think you're right, yeah.
Like, what is going on? Please listen to your audience. Please listen to your community. It's...
Yeah, how did that petition go in the end? I mean, relative to the success of the first petition to actually get Dark Souls ported to PC.
I don't know.
Well,
what were the final numbers?
Is it no longer Games for Windows Live, or is it's Steam works now, isn't it?
No, I don't think it is. I think it is still Games for Windows Live. It just is going to be sold on Steam, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah. Let me see if I can put up the link quickly. So
but
please talk amongst yourselves.
It's funny because you can say, oh well, it's going to cost them so much more. If they hired a consultancy firm, well then it's somebody has to make the executive decision of, is this worth it for this company / game to do this? At the cost that it's going to make to make an actual good product. Is this something that we want to do? Is this going to work out for us? If not, then sorry, it's Xbox and PS3 exclusive. We can live with that. It's not great for us PC gamers, but that's a little bit of the reality.
An example that you should point to is Alan Wake. Obviously came to PC a couple of years, I think, after it was out on Xbox 360. And it launched at a discount price, and they clearly put a lot of work into the PC port, and they said that they recouped the development costs within kind of that opening week. And as you're saying, like, Dark Souls on PC, on the Xbox and the PS3 sold quite a lot based on strong word of mouth. Like, it's never going to be like a massively popular game because of like the polarizing difficulty and things like that. But that's exactly what PC gamers respond to, and that's kind of what they want.
Yeah. So
you'd think that, obviously we don't know the numbers involved in hiring these kind of people, and credit to for giving it a go themselves, but at the same time, if it compromises the overall quality of the product, then I think people would rather they hold their hands up and say, look, we don't have a lot of experience in this, we hired some extra guys to help us out, the game will be delayed a few months, but we want to make it the best it can be, here you go.
Yep, or we're not going to do this because it's not up to the standards of quality that we want for, port or whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
it's a tricky decision because there's so much demand for it, and I've just found out how many people have signed that petition for Games Windows Live to be taken out, and there's 23,000, which is a quarter.
That's about a fourth, yeah.
So it's tricky, and you know, I've obviously wrote a little over the line. I think I've stepped out of my shoes a little here. But what I've got to sort of say is some of the comments that I received stated that I was against From Software, which are the guys obviously developing the game alongside Namco, Bandai. And not once in that article do I state I know that Namco are the big bosses in this. They are sort of got all the keys to the, to everything. And I'm directly pointing this article to Namco. So yeah, a final apology if I've offended anyone with my laziness, but human, only human at the end of the day.
But see, the thing is, I like our website because we tell it like it is. You thought it was lazy. Perhaps that wasn't the best word to use, but that was the word that came to you at that time. It
was born out of frustration. I was really angry. I want this to be a success. I just see it like. Oh.
It has been a curious PR roller coaster, actually, hasn't it? I mean, if you remember that it started as this sort of popular petition to get it ported across to PC, and then just every little bit of news after that initial kind of high, that sort of popular movement has just steadily kind of undercut it. It feels like they are squandering goodwill. Whether they're intended
they had so much goodwill by simply, listening to the fans saying, what, we can do this. Like, why not? The people are asking for it. But then all of a sudden they started to make decisions that, people weren't asking for.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing, and I was having a conversation with a chap on there, saying what genuine advice can outsiders offer to development. And I then brought up the idea of Rocket creating the mod DayZ. And he may have corrected me on how long he's been working at Bohemia or whatever, but effectively what he was he came into Bohemia as a one-man sort of thing. He's the sort of creator behind it. He maybe not be the developer behind it, but he's the sort of the guy that's been up there and thought of the ideas. And there's plenty of undiscovered and helpful talent out there, undoubtedly. And there's no reason that Namco could literally put out a sort of open forum or something of, game developers or what do you call it? It's one of those like focus groups.
Yeah.
You get a group of people in and say, oh, right, okay, what should we do with this? What would you like to see? Is that not difficult to do?
Well, it's tough to moderate. It's the perils of trying to involve the community, because obviously you'll get 5 people who all disagree on how a given mechanic should be implemented, and one person that just hates it entirely and thinks it should be scrapped. And it's the ancient forum discussions in any old multiplayer game of what should be nerfed and what should be added to balance out the classes and that kind of thing.
Well, it's interesting.
No one's ever going to agree.
Check this as a segue. You're going to like this quite a lot. There's a game recently emerged on Steam and things like that. It's currently in, I guess we would call it an alpha, called Endless Space. And what they have kind of promised in a way is, with the announcement trailer, they were showing off kind of some of the game mechanics. And I can't remember the exact terminology they used, but basically what they are saying is they were constantly talking to players, and like, if you kind of sign up and get your game down for Endless Space as it is at the moment, you get like, a copy of the game to play, and you sign up to the forums and you give your feedback directly to the developers. And like, there's already examples of them implementing things that people have noticed in the beta, like things that people think should have changed and things like that. I think they've just called it kind of like an open community development.
I think it's called Games Together.
Yeah, Games Together. That's it.
Good name.
Yeah. There was a company and a product, an IP at PAX East, that I was actually really impressed with, and I spoke a little bit on the website, called Nova Saturno. It's a spacefaring RTS, and that is essentially what they are doing. Is that people can I don't know if their betas are still going on, but they will listen to you. And if you do like a really good job and are very constructive in helping them make a better game, you may in fact be hired. So I think that's the way to go. And it was a good looking game.
Examples of that, like they're constantly finding people who, I mean, like CS, Day of Defeat and things like that. All these things started at mods, and then even Port was a student project, as far as I'm aware.
Well, Dota as well, for example.
Yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm. It's funny. I was thinking about this. I don't, having grown up sort of in the late '90s, early 2000s with my PC gaming in terms of that. All these companies that are really really big now, Blizzard, EA, I guess Ubisoft, although they're not that bad, but they're sort of gone in a way, and they're just so big now that they have other priorities, if you will. I don't know if it's to investors or if they're just sort of thinking that some of their IPs, like Diablo, are too big to fail or to let fail. So I don't know. PC gaming has changed.
They're trying to chase a bit of a large audience, a sort of their image of a mainstream audience through demographics and trying desperately not to offend everyone. And yeah, you kind of end up with these relatively bland games which are trying to appeal to everyone.
So let's talk about bland games and Blizzard. Recently,
Yes.
and I know I'm not the only one, I recently purchased Diablo 3.
I think you're the only one.
Nope.
Yeah, well, Abby's got it.
Yep.
The only two.
And
In the whole
I
world.
saw your review. Review on the website. Review/rant, I think.
Yeah.
Could file that one under. And like I got so excited. I don't get excited about game releases very often, but you know all the hype that was
And that's
building
why
up
you're
to
right for a
Diablo 3.
computer games website.
Yeah, and I looked at it and I thought, you know what, I did this. You know, I enjoyed Diablo 1 and 2. I enjoyed Torchlight as well, and I picked it up. And it's just mind-numbing. It's mind-numbing.
And I was completely and utterly right, is what you're saying, basically.
It's so. I appreciate people like it for like a multitude of reasons, and I've heard all the arguments that, you know, the game really starts on the higher difficulties. Well, don't make me play through the lower difficulties then, because
yeah, you have fundamentally
and I was
failed.
playing it by myself. Like I played it with a couple of, you know, friends of D22 Zone. But I played the first couple of chapters by myself, which was very boring. And then I was told, oh, it's a multiplayer game. You shouldn't play by yourself. But there's so many qualifiers in what makes Diablo a good game. Like you have to play with people, you have to play on a harder difficulty, you have to do all of these things before it becomes fun. And it just isn't. I wish it was. Like I want to like it, but I don't understand how it's taken them so long to make it.
Yes, thank you. Oh my god.
It is a tremendously boring, average game.
It's I just want to say this.
How does this differ from Diablo 2?
Oh, in so many ways.
It sounds like a stupid thing, but how old is Diablo 2 now? Like
10 years.
10 years old. Like what have they been doing? Like the game isn't that different from Diablo 2. That's what bugs me the most. Like Diablo 2 was brilliant 10 years ago. But now we have Diablo 3 10 years later that doesn't feel like that much of an improvement.
You feel
like it's what you're saying,
Hack and
like
Slash should have moved on a bit.
Yeah, like the IP is so big. Like, I mean, people aren't listening to me. I mean, why would they? I mean, people have bought Diablo 3 in their millions. And, you know, from what I understand, a lot are enjoying it, and, like, more power to them. But I wish that they tried more. I think that's the thing. Like, it doesn't feel like they took any risks with Diablo 3.
It's trying to create that personal relationship, I think, with developers. Like, everyone seems to hold a really personal relationship, like, well, what I do, for some peculiar reason, with Notch. with Minecraft. He's always that sort of there. You know, he probably does bum on Twitter 24/7. But you don't really see that with EA and Blizzard. You know, they're so big. It's just like, oh right, they're releasing another sort of huge, massive, uncategorized game sort of thing, and I think it almost destroys them in that sense.
Well, like credit EA, I think at the start of this quote unquote generation, with PC, they experimented with quite a lot of things. Had like brand new IPs from them, things like Mirror's Edge, Dead Space, and then also they invested heavily in the EA Partners program, which for better or worse, you know, they did a lot of good things with that as well. And I think they generated a lot of goodwill with that kind of movement, but as you said, they have so much on the line when it comes to releasing a new game like Medal of Honor or Battlefield. There's so much to lose for them, because if you make a bad Battlefield game and it doesn't sell, you're in trouble. Budget's involved.
Well, I don't think Battlefield 3 is particularly that bad. I think it's the platform and the stupid Battle.net, Battlelog, whatever it's called, that they released on, which is just shocking. But okay, if I just pull up another example, what's the Stalker development company called?
DSC?
Yeah, they held some sort of really personal relationship because the Stalker games were amazing, are still amazing, and so many people sort of fell for them going bust, and it was quite a sad time. But how many people would be sad if EA went bust? Would you be sad if EA went bust?
Well, it's one of those, like, you don't feel sorry for the man, you know, the corporation or whatever. Like, as kind of hipster as it sounds, it's one of those things. I think there are good examples of companies that do a good job of kind of cultivating a relationship with their fans. Like, you look at the guys at CD Projekt, like with The Witcher and things like that, and good old games. Like, they have like those little conferences, like as cheesy as they are. And even though that gent wore a funny hat and sung a song about games, like, it's that kind of thing that people enjoy. Like, they give away free copies of games. You know, it's all those things that people appreciate. But it feels like we're not getting any favors from the big companies.
Yeah.
Not a totally fair comparison, of course.
Went down
What did?
after pandemic when
Oh yeah, pandemic calls, yeah.
bust.
Dag, yo.
Well, obviously we've just lost big, huge games as well. Well, in the past 6 weeks or whatever it is, we've lost big, huge games, and then they've become Epic West, something like that. Like, picked up by Epic Games.
And to a certain extent, that's how you become a big corporation, is by, you know, not giving away too much of your product. But, I mean, Steam is just incredibly generous. Like, at least once a quarter. So, I don't know.
The DLC route for EA is a
Well, there's not much we can say about that now. That's been debated to death. Day one DLC, if it's not going away.
Yeah.
But what's amazing to me is, like, we talk about not getting favors from big publishers, and I don't mean to rag on Diablo 3 any more than I need to, but you know, it's not too much of a discussion. But I think the DLC and like all of that kind of thing, the Real Money Auction House, and well, just the always online. Like, I've heard so many people defend it, and I don't understand how. Like, there's people, like, I work like with games and things like that, and the amount of people who don't see it as a problem or say that it's okay or it makes sense, baffling.
Well, it does make sense, especially the Real Money Auction House. I've been meaning to write about it. It makes sense because when you play the game, you can tell that it's an item grind. And if they are going to make a cut of every item that you sell in the auction house, it makes complete sense the way they design the game. it's like I said in my review, it's not a bad game, Diablo 3. It's just not a Diablo game, which I think is the problem that a lot of people are having with it. You know?
Yeah, I agree.
So
It's
what
just,
is
it's
there
so
to Diablo
different.
that it's missing? But I mean, I think Diablo. I think lots of clicking and lots of loot. I
There's
mean,
lots of clicking.
how did
There is
Diablo not?
also lots of loot. Except now I would say that that's the main goal of Diablo 3 as opposed to character progress and character development, which was really, I think, the hallmark of Diablo and Diablo 2. Certainly Diablo.
We're talking kind of customization options for your character
Yeah.
and tweaking those attributes and skills and everything.
The only way to
Well,
customize your character is
the
through items.
customization is quite interesting now. Like you have obviously your skills which you unlock as you progress, but then on top of that you also have runes for each skill which alter that skill. So instead of having what you typically have in like skill trees where you put like 5 points in strength, whatever that means, they've done away with all of that and put it towards this more kind of tangible system. But I think the problem is, as Abby was saying, is like as you're kind of clicking around this world or whatever, there's so little else going on. Like if the world was like a bit more destructive, obviously things do explode like crazy as you click on them. But like the world just like a bit of a backdrop. Like you're not interacting in any way. Like you're skipping out quest dialogue because it's poorly written, it's poorly voiced, and like all of this, it just doesn't make sense. I was listening to a rival podcast, and they were talking about how the voice acting and writing must have been an inside joke at Blizzard because there is no way they would literally have allowed it to be that bad.
Yeah. So
It makes me sad.
I don't want to talk about this anymore. But man, it's like I keep saying, they're not bad games, but when you slap a Diablo on the top there, it means something, or it used to. It's like when I was speaking to somebody who was on the development team for Deus Ex Human Revolution. I told them, like, this is almost harder for you guys because it's a Deus Ex game. Like, having your own IP has its own challenges with, publicity and trying to get a fan base and all that stuff, but in some ways, it's just as hard to try to follow up a success, which is why I'm not really looking forward to anything even slightly related to Half-Life 3. Or Portal 3, or whatever 3.
Yeah. But it's interesting, the guys, DICE, gave an interview whereby they said that by having the Battlefield name on top of their box is basically free marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's much the same with Diablo. Like there were people who were going to buy Diablo regardless, which is, something like the amount of people who said, "Oh, I didn't know this was always going to be online."
Mm-hmm.
Like these are people who don't forums, who don't kind of read magazines or websites. They bought it because of the strength of the brand name.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just say something about Battlefield?
Yeah.
Battlefield. Oh, I vomit in that name.
What's that?
I don't understand what your problem with the name is.
Oh, Battlefield Premium.
The trouble with it is that it sounds like it's a free-to-play thing where you're, buying weapons unlocks and, grinding an energy system or something. And it's not. Battlefield does actually have that already. It does have the ability to pay for weapons unlocks, which is kind of a separate issue entirely. Battlefield Premium, they should have just called it like Battlefield Gold Edition, Game of the Year Edition, something like that.
It sounds horrible. It sounds like you buy your shoes from a Clark's and I buy my shoes from Brantano. It's that sort
Those
of,
are both semi-popular footwear locations in the UK.
Oh, okay.
What's a Brantano?
Oh dear.
It's okay, I'll
just play on a premium TF2 server.
It's just the name. It's just the name.
It's the connotation to the word premium, I suppose.
Premium. But yeah, sorry. As you were saying about Battlefield 3 and something.
Well, I'm done. You've ruined my life.
Well, I did want to ask Ben something actually. with his most recent review, which is of a game which I have no idea how to pronounce.
Oh,
Nexus.
It's called Nexus.
Yep. Yeah. So the opening cinematic does clear that one up, which is
Oh,
I think that's
good.
probably
Otherwise, this podcast would be a
through
bit
the
of a
development
minefield.
process. They were like, okay, we need to clear up this
Yeah.
issue of the.
I sure the other day it's
Isn't it
Nex
Nex
Uiz.
or something?
Yeah,
It's spelled Nexuiz or
I much prefer that
Nzuz.
pronunciation.
Yeah.
We should start a petition to change the pronunciation.
Oh, to what? Primayam?
D22's own the game.
Oh, D22's on the game, the movie.
Yeah. .com.
Yeah.
.com.
Localization.
Hyphen. Ah,
Just end
man.
it with a hyphen.
If
as
they
well.
were able to sell that, it would be too racist.
Too
All I've
risque.
got to say though, highlight of my weekend and Ollie's weekend and two friends that follow the blog this weekend. Guild Wars 2 beta.
Ugh.
Yeah. we can talk about
Absolutely
that.
amazing.
Pretty amazing.
I like how we've been saying Diablo 3 is not like Diablo. Guild Wars 2 is like Guild Wars in a totally different way. It's sort of, you know, it's so different,
Insufficient
but it
permissions.
holds still that strong connection between the two somehow, and I don't really know how.
Okay. So what's different? What has changed?
Dynamic events. Events where you literally walk around the map, and there's certain blobs around this map where you can join in on a quest with hundreds of other people, if there are hundreds. If one person's there, you join the other one person, and these events could be something like kill a worm boss or whatever, and this huge worm pops out of the ground, and depending on how many people are around that worm boss attacking it, is dependent on how much health it's got, so it sort of scaled with that.
That's pretty exciting. So that's the kind of thing they couldn't really do in the first one because they didn't have
obviously,
everyone wandering about in the same sort of
That's it.
area as well.
Yeah,
so
that's
they've
obviously
obviously
the big
dropped the
thing that
instancing.
the big thing that Gloves glossed over there is that Guild Wars is now open world, like much
Yeah.
like your more traditional MMOs.
But the open world way they've done it.
There are still zones, but
Yeah, so there's
But-
still like your instance zones, but now the instance contains like a shard of the server. And as you
The way-
move into a different zone, you might switch to a different shard with like a different set of people, but it's still open world.
No, that's changed. That is.
Has it?
Yeah, basically, if you're in a party, they've fixed that now. Even if you zone out of a zone and go back into it, you'll go back to whatever that party member's still in, sort of thing.
It's much better.
Which is kind of cool because we experienced that on the first go we played beta, and we couldn't actually see each other when we was in the same party because there's so many overflow servers and stuff like that. But so dynamic events is totally amazing. You can literally just walk around the map, explore. Oh look, there's an event over there. Let's just do a couple of attacks on it. Blown up dead. It's just so simple. And another thing, you don't have to go back to the quest person that got the quest. It automatically pops up. It's so much more smooth flowing. You know,
That's
I think
good.
Some of the things which they should take out. I think repair armor is just the worst thing ever because I don't want to have to go back to someone to repair my armor because I've been enjoying myself. I just don't agree with that. That's boring.
Sorry, go into that mechanic in a bit more detail. How does this work?
What happens is if you get attacked so much,
when you get hurt,
you lose durability on your armor, basically, and when you get
that's
hurt.
only when you go down. Like that, I'm sure that's only when you.
It is. It's only when you go down.
Killed.
Oh, okay.
It's a balance thing though, because like if you're doing missions, you can just start from because when you're doing like your instant story mission, you can just if you die, you can just click on retry from checkpoint, and you're just back at the start of the map, and nothing's changed, and so you could just keep going in and attacking the person without any penalty at all, and it would be crap. Because it would just be really easy for everyone just to progress without, any kind of punishment.
this is a similar sort of mechanic to what they had in Guild Wars 1, which was there was a death penalty. Where
They should
you
bring that
took,
back.
I think it was a sort of a cumulative 2% or something on your
15.
health and mana, up
15%
to.
when you died.
Blimey, okay.
Yeah, up to 60%.
Oh yeah, right. That was it.
But obviously, what they've done now is much like in Left 4 Dead. If you reach 0 HP, you go into a downed state, and you have like 4 abilities where you can kind of continue to attack with kind of limited damage, like you'll throw stones and things like that. And in that state, if you kill an enemy, you'll be revived, or you can be revived by any other player by running up to you and they kind of press F. And then they'll enter in like little animation with a timer, and obviously you get revived at the end of that. Kind of keep the action flowing.
Yeah, makes sense.
Well,
It is good though.
It is something which is changing the MMO perspective, and I love it. It's one of those games which I've actually enjoyed playing for about 8 hours solid. Like I enjoyed Guild Wars playing for 8 hours solid, and I think when you get older, you tend to sort of not play games for so long, probably because of other time constraints. But this is one of the games which I actually sat down and played for a long time.
So how are you feeling about the new system? Like because they're shifting it up so it's weapon based now, aren't they?
14 hours again.
Weapon base is amazing, and I know I've only got a couple more minutes because we need to finish this podcast. But what I can say is I played a warrior at the weekend, and the changing of weapons and learning new skills is epic. So, for example, if I was holding a one-handed axe in my left hand and a sword in my right, my skill set would be totally changed if I swap those two weapons around in two different hands. It's that cool, and it's like in Guild Wars, you used to buy skills using skill points and gold. Now you sort of just like learn it and you buy them with the skill points only, depending on what weapons you're holding. And the warrior can wield like greatsword, axes, sword and one-handed axe, rifles is another thing, a bow, and he learns all these different skills, which like sort of makes him one more character. So yeah, I love it.
Does this give you a chance to kind of change up your build on the fly? Sort of if you run into a challenge that you hadn't necessarily prepared for, you're not totally screwed up.
Yeah. It's like I started playing with a greatsword because I'm sort of greatsword, huge damage. But then end game, I say end game, towards like the end of the weekend, I was playing with a hammer, and a hammer is normally regarded as being quite not rubbish, but no one really used to go hammer in Guild Wars because slow attack speeds and stuff. It is absolutely amazing in Guild Wars 2. So
I think the good thing is that with Guild Wars 1, it was so kind of mechanical. So as much as we enjoyed that, like you could eliminate kind of like room for error by having like specific builds and all of that kind of thing. But in this one, obviously what they've done is by including different weapon sets and like different
insufficient
skills,
permissions.
it makes it more versatile to players, and the hope is it makes it more interesting in the playing.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, too right.
Well,
I played the Thief all weekend as well, and I love the short bow with that. There's some really cool skills in there, and I love the mesmer with a greatsword. It looks amazing.
well, I hope I get another. I never got a beta for that, but I did, however, get a beta invite for the Secret World,
Me too.
which you can get off NVIDIA's website, and I wrote a post about it, and I will link it to our podcast page, and I will get this up before the beta starts this weekend. Looks amazing. Can't wait for that. So get your Secret World beta invites from NVIDIA.com.
Also get them on MMORPG.com.
Okay.
Second.
Huh.
Yes.
Well, let's not send people there.
He's typing in MMORPG.com into his browser right now.
Another thing I want to mention is the Humble Indie Bundle is coming up to a close. I think it's got about 2 days left on it. 2 days, 3 hours, 37 minutes, 28 seconds. Amazing group of games. They've reached 4.5 million. $4.5 million. Over a $500,000 purchases. and there's an epic battle between top contributors Notch and the Humble Bronies, which is
Brony people are so peculiar.
well, look, they're doing their part, so I'm just gonna leave them be. But so 2 days left, I guess maybe 1 day left by the time this gets up. So absolutely wonderful games. You can pay a penny. You can pay $12,345.67 like Notch did.
Definitely.
Yeah, but it's a must buy, even if you have some of the games. And the other thing we'll talk about before the giveaway is that I have been playing a ton of Skyrim. That being said, I have compiled a list of must-have Skyrim mods that will work on even my 5 or 7 year old computer with 2 gigs of RAM. I will also be posting that, but they're great mods, and it's if you could 5-star that for us, that would help out the site a lot. And if you have a mod that you want to suggest, or if you made a mod that you want us to know about, you can.
As long as they are nude mods.
You know what? It's super. I don't think you can get the nude mods on Steam, but look, there's a way to get it, and it's so much more fun playing with the nude mods, especially the male nude mods.
So, we've got another guy from the past. He's been playing a game.
All right then.
GTA 3.
Wow.
That's
Is
retro.
that new? I've never heard of that.
GTA 3?
Yeah, it's pretty new.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it came out on like Friday. Well, it came out in the States on Friday. I don't know about you.
Behind it there.
They released it during E3. I'm not sure if
Yeah,
you saw E3.
It was best of E3.
But
Yeah, this is why we need another podcast. E3 was last week.
But
Ugh,
it was behind closed doors, so only I got to see it.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
I hear the big
Nice.
change for the franchise is to a 3D perspective now.
Yeah.
It's not top down anymore.
Can you go hookers?
I don't think so.
You can have sex in your car.
Oh,
Okay.
that is it. That's day one purchase.
Oh, it's going to be graphic.
Holly.
What?
I know how much you like graphic violence, Max. You wrote that.
Anywho,
Love it.
giveaway. Jason, what are we giving away this week?
Well, I'm giving away quite a nice little game this week. Basically, this is a game which has one amazing soundtrack. It features the author of him saying basically he released the game on day one. He woke up the next day and he said to himself, "I'm a rich man." Could you guess what it is? Its
No.
soundtrack, I'm a rich
Minecraft?
Is it GTA 3?
No. And it's an indie game.
Oh.
GTA 3 Vice
Vice
City.
City.
Yeah.
No, not Vice City.
It's got a much better
It
soundtrack.
begins with B. Pretty obvious.
BTA?
No.
GTA 3?
GTA 3 Vice City?
Battletoads.
Of course, it's Braid.
Ooh.
That amazing
yeah, I
puzzle
like it.
platformer.
Should give it away to everyone who reads the website because it's that good. Is that
It's
okay?
it's
Can I
pretty
say
good.
that?
Afford that.
I'll purchase 100 copies right now.
So yeah, Braid
heard
is
it
up
here
for
first.
giveaway this week. It's amazing. Don't be fooled by its sort of light-hearted 2D pictures. It's incredible. I love it. Everyone loves it.
Everyone
Will
loves it.
also tear your brain out through your spinal cord and
Yeah.
then
Ugh.
stand on it. But
Yeah.
you know, it's everyone on Earth should play it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played it.
I played it.
I've reviewed it.
All the cool kids played it.
Did you?
I did.
I live in Scotland. All the games come here last after
Oh.
Australia, and I played it.
After the People's Republic of China.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure people on the moon get games before we do.
They get it first. They're
Boom
beta
games.
testers. Well, that
But-
seems like a good place to leave it for this week. So tune in next
Yeah,
week.
I'm sure
Make sure to
we'll
get
be
your giveaway codes.
I'm gonna go do a certain dance, certain safety dance.
A safety dance.
Other songs are available.
Are you gonna leave your friends behind, Ollie?
If they don't dance, well, they're no friends of mine.
Ah, I can dance if I want to. If I don't, nobody will. S S S S A A A F F F F E E E T T T T Y Y Y. Podcast over. I'm calling it. I'm calling it. Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.
The safety
Hi.
podcast.
Bye.